What's up, gamers? It's Miss Sorensen, back at you with video 2, Degrees to Radians. Let's get started. The measure of an angle is determined by the amount of rotation from the initial side to the terminal side. There are two common ways to measure angles, the first being degrees and the second being radians. Let's start with degrees, which is denoted by the symbol degrees. And remember, 1 degree is equivalent to a rotation of 1/360th of 1 revolution. Here are the formulas. Maybe pause this video right now and get them down, please. All right, radians are another way to measure angles. What is the circumference of a circle with a radius of 1 inch? We've done this on our review slide, but let's go ahead and do it again. If I have my unit circle, a radius of 1, that's going to be a circumference is equal to 2 pi r, or 2 pi 1. So my circumference is 2 pi. Well, what does that become? That circumference equals 2 times 3.14. That's our circumference is equal to 6.28, and we're talking about radians. What does that mean on the circle here, the unit circle? It means 1 radian comes to about here because we have 6.28 radians. We have 6.28 radians that go all the way around the circle. So that's approximately 1 radian right there. How many degrees in 1 rotation? Well, if you're struggling to understand kind of what does this look like, it might be better to remind yourself that, okay, 1 radian is roughly 57 degrees. And the calculation for that is not super important, but you are basically saying that 180 is the same thing as pi, divide the 2, and we know that there are 57 degrees roughly in 1 radian. So if you were to add up 57 degrees, 57 degrees, 57 degrees, etc., all the way, plus you've got kind of a fraction of 57 degrees here, you would get to 360. Now let's go ahead and start, and let's use these formulas to derive the unit circle. Now if I had you guys in class, we would actually kind of divvy up this work. So let's just do maybe these 3 right here. All right, so first of all, we're going to take, let's start with 30 degrees. And we are going to multiply that. If we look at our formula here, we're going from degrees to radians, meaning we want radians. Okay, so we have to take our degrees and we have to multiply it by pi over 180. So I'm going to multiply this by pi over 180. And notice here that we've got degrees and degrees. I'm going to go ahead and cancel the degrees symbol. And so this is going to leave me, if we want, we can put this over 1 with 30 pi over 180. I go ahead and I enter 30 divided by 180 into my graphing calculator, and then I press math, and then I choose the fraction button. Okay, so it looks like number 1, it's got a little arrow on it, and it says frac on it, F-R-A-C. If we do 30 divided by 180 in our calculator, we're going to see that we get 1/6, which means we've got 1 over 6, and we've got a pi here, and of course we can simplify that to pi over 6. Okay, let's do 45 degrees. So I'm going to take my 45 degrees, and I'm going to multiply that by pi over 180. Again, if you want, put this over 1. This is going to be equal to 45 pi over 180. Put the 45 divided by 180 into your graphing calculator, press math, and then press the number 1 button to turn it into a fraction, and you will find that you get 1/4. So you get 1 pi over 4, which we're going to write as pi over 4. Why don't you pause the video right now and try to do 60 degrees on your own? And then once you're done, go ahead and restart the video and check your answer with mine. All right, hopefully you got what I got. Let's move ahead. Now let's try some different angles. We've already done 60 and 30, so I'm going to go ahead and skip those two. But let's try negative 54 degrees. We're going to take that and we're going to multiply by pi over 180. And in doing this, we end up getting a negative 54 pi over 180. And I want you to now put the negative 54 divided by 180. I want you to put this right here into your graphing calculator and press math and then fraction. And you'll see that that's going to reduce to negative 3 pi over 20. All right. Next one, we multiply by pi over 180. Okay, obviously that gives us a negative 118 pi over 180. Again, put that in your graphing calculator, leave out the pi, press math frac, and you should be left with a negative 59 pi over 180. That doesn't make sense. Let me try that on the graphing calculator. Negative 118 divided by 180. Press math frac. Oh, I got negative 59 over 90. I knew that. You were probably yelling at me at home that same answer. All right, so that's our answer there. And 45 degrees we also did, so I'm going to go ahead and give a check mark there. All right, next slide. Now we're going to go from radians to degrees. So we're going to use this formula right here. We're going to take our radians and we're going to multiply them by 180 over pi. So multiplying this by 180 over pi, what do you realize that cancels here? Yeah, you're right, it's the pi. So I'm going to cancel the pi's out. I'm going to multiply across and I get 180 divided by 6. Go ahead and throw that in your calculator. And I get 30 degrees. That's actually one we should have memorized, the fact that pi over 6 is going to be 30 degrees. Pi over 2, we actually know the answer to this is what? Yep, 90, exactly. So let's just make sure we're getting that with our formula. We're going to have 180 over pi. Remember, we're using this formula right here. And that's going to give us a pi canceling, 180 divided by 2. Which is equal to 90 degrees. All right, this next one here, we have to multiply by 180 over pi. And you can see this is a little bit harder. Our pi's are going to cancel. But now I need to multiply across the numerators. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to multiply negative 11 times 180. And that's going to give me negative 1980. All right. And then I have an 18 in the denominator. Quickly doing that division, I get negative 110 degrees. Now you should know that I'll never give you an answer that's not a whole number. So if you do get a decimal, then you've got to go back and check your work. All right, last one here. We're going to multiply by 180 over pi. Pi's cancel. I'm left with 180 divided by 9, which is 20 degrees. All right, folks, that's it for video 2. Thanks for listening. Make sure you find your assignment for video 2 and upload that as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.